Hello, welcome back to Otter Pop Culture. Today is Thursday, which means it's the 23rd episode of Throwback Thursdays. So this episode, we're going to talk about the third album by Paramore. They're Nashville-based, but now they're LA-based, and their third album called Brand New Eyes. This came out in 2009, and I have to say that I was a decent Paramore fan. Like, I think I was more of a Paramore fan when they were, like, in the Riot section, and I felt like I've followed them all the way to Paramore, the self-titled Paramore album that came out in 2013, but for some reason I kind of filter off after that. I haven't really gotten to After Laughter, even though I did get into the singles. But this is the reason I want to do this one is because I already know about Riot. I already know about All We Know Is Falling. So I already know about those kind of ones. I definitely listened to the whole albums. And Paramore also, I listened to that whole album too. So this one though is a different thing. For some reason, this album was in my circle by, well, actually that's a lie. I think I did end up listening to the whole album one time during I was doing like an essay in college. I was listening to it in the background. But I feel like that wasn't the right way to listen to it because I didn't really collect all the things that I definitely collect now. So, yeah, so I definitely had some songs that I did have from this song, like this album, like Ignorance and All I Wanted Is You, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I know of Brick by Boring Brick, and I know Playing God, and I definitely know about The Only Exception because it was on the radio, everybody was singing it, everybody was fucking obsessed with it, to the point where it became exhausting. Like, I could not wait for the song to die out, so, like, anytime soon, and it did eventually, but it was very Old Town Road kind of for me, where just like everybody fucking loves the song and it will not stop playing. But anyway, I have a different thought about that when I get to that song. So I'm gonna go over this album and talk about things that I pretty much found out about it and the in or outs things about this album too. This may be a little bit of a long video, but I want to make sure I get everything out that I can from what I got from this album. So this album is called Brand New Eyes. And this is supposed to be kind of a thing talking about all the internal issues that's going on with the band and mixing with the stuff that Haley, who's the lead singer, was dealing with at that time. And I feel like personally when I looked at all the stuff that was going on with this album, it made me feel like it was their rumor, like Fleetwood Mac kind of thing. And I feel like that it was this is them kind of hashing out what they feel, because you got Ignorance, which I know for sure was about the friendship between Haley and Josh, which is Josh Farrow was the guitarist inside the band until 2010, and then he departed with his brother, who's also in the band, named Zach Farrow, who does drumming. But he came back later on. So apparently this song was pretty much directed towards the way that they treat her, and it was the song that pretty much saved the band. It was having all of that having to be hashed out and talked about, pretty much let everything laid out in the line and let them talk about anything, all the concerns they had. And then apparently that in turn kept the band going. And unfortunately, I guess it didn't really matter to Josh. I think maybe the issue between them was a little too deep to kind of figure out. But everybody else was okay, so that's good. So yeah, so let me go through some of the parts that I definitely like. So we talk about a lot of stuff about being is a mixture between talking about shame and how people point fingers at you and try to tell you how to live your life and try to tell you what to do and how to look and how to be. And so she talks about that and she pulls that out in Careful, where we're pretty much saying, like, you can't be too careful careful anymore when all these things that are waiting for you won't come any closer. You got to reach out a little more. Pretty much saying just kind of go after for what you want no matter what other people say, because they're always going to there's always going to be somebody that's going to pull you one direction and tell you, oh, this is how you should be doing it. Just like, no, just kind of do it your way kind of thing. And don't wait, apparently. Ignorance is the next song that I definitely like. I already talked about this. It's pretty much the idea of her speaking to the band and saying, like, I don't like how you treat me. I don't like how I'm trying to grow up and be a better person, and do you see this change as a bad thing instead of a opportunity to kind of grow, or to see me in a different light, and it's definitely angry, and I love this song. I used to, like, hear this song definitely around the time where 2009, so that was pretty much the time where we're trying to the world was trying to figure out whether they wanted gay, queer people to be married, to have the right to be married. And I felt like that just really sunk in and more of that type of narrative for me. Kind of just like the ignorance is your new best friend. Kind of point out to like the ignorance that you just believe that we're completely just like subhuman, is ridiculous. But it's something that you're clinging on to like your best friend kind of thing. Playing with God, or Playing God is the next song that I really like. I remember seeing the music video like one time when like it was it's like Haley like cleaning up the house or moving things around the house, and then you find out that when she goes down to the basement, she has all the band members all tied up together. So apparently this one's also her song to them in a way and also other people abroad. It's a mixture between hashing out their personal issues with each other, but also those things kind of spread out to other people as well, and the society as well. I love that kind of parallel that continuously goes throughout the whole album. This one pretty much talks about somebody controlling your life, and it's also kind of plays the not only controlling your life, but also putting blame and shaming you for who you are or what you do or for being human kind of thing. And so I love the whole direction where she says, next time you point a finger, I'll point you to the mirror. I love that because it's kind of just like people that like to point fingers and blame fault, but they don't really take any accountability that any of this has to do with them kind of thing. So the whole thought of when you point one finger at yourself or at somebody, you're pointing three right back at yourself kind of thing. It's kind of remembering yourself to be humble and to remember to continuously be introspective about how you see and how you judge other people. Brick by Boring Brick is the next song that I really, really like. I feel this song is pretty much about a girl who likes to escape reality through pictures and fairy tales, and all these things are not real because her life is not the best at the moment. But this Brick by Boring Brick is pretty much talks about it first, saying like, I know what you're doing. This is what's going on. You live in this fantasy world, and then the chorus and the other parts come in to kind of encourage her to pull it all the way. So like, let's dig this let's take this castle and dig it and put it in the ground and bury it. Pretty much saying let's bury all this fantasy and kind of go for the reality. To help you kind of move forward, because being inside the fantasy doesn't really move you any forward. It just keeps you blocked into one space. And I feel like that's kind of what she was saying. As she says, keep your feet on the ground when your head's in the clouds. You can fantasize. It's not, I think she says there's nothing wrong with fantasizing or going to having escapism. There's no escapism. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that you got to remember when to know when to stop, or when to know the difference between reality and when you're escaping. You can do that, but remember that you don't want to stay in one place for too long. And another one I definitely like the lyrics. We built a pull it down. Oh, well, this one I already said, but it's pretty much like built up a wall of magic because your real life is tragic. Pretty much in the bridge, she says like, I understand why you do it though, because your life is tragic, so that's what you feel like you need to do to kind of relieve yourself from being in that situation. But she's saying that you don't have to. The next one I really like is weirdly the only exception. I think what happened is I never really listened to the song full on lyrics in my face, listening to it that way. I wish I would have done that before, because maybe I would have had a less like bothered feeling towards it than I do now. Like, I definitely like it now. It's a soft ballad. It's pretty much talking about the idea of opening up yourself to love, and due to the fact that the first verse starts off by talking about her parents, or Haley's parents, pretty much, how the dad did something which is, I feels like it's maybe cheating or something, to her mother, and pretty much the mother is just like, they try to work it out, but it seems like the mother couldn't look past it, and she couldn't kind of move forward from it. It still was kind of stuck with her. And so it got to a point where they were always arguing, and they ended up splitting, and all of this happened right in front of Haley as a kid. And so I think that, and so with that, the song pretty much says, is like, because of seeing that example as a kid, it kind of got me a little skeptical about love, and not sure if it lasts forever, because it's definitely didn't last forever in a situation with two people that I really, really loved. And I feel like the second verse goes into the direction of talking about that, just saying, because of this direction, this is how I see life now. This is how I see all these things. But in the middle of both of those verses, or the chorus in the middle of those verses, just pretty much just says, you are the only exception, pretty much pointing out that this person has changed her mind completely, or not completely, but has formed a bit of exception in her mind, and to where she's like, but I feel different when I'm with you. I feel different when you're around. I feel different for how we are doing things, and it just feels like it feels like you're slowly but surely breaking down that wall that believes that love doesn't last, and love is not worth the risk, as she says. And up till now, I had sworn to myself that I'm content with loneliness, because none of it was ever worth the risk, but you are the only exception. And at the very, very end, she says, I'm on my way to believing, pretty much saying that she's on her way to believing that love is a thing. And I think that that's kind of beautiful to kind of end it. And then the next song that I really like is Looking Up. I feel like it's really upbeat kind of direction, and I love it almost feels a low key like it should have been the last song, but I kind of like the fact that it's not the last song, because the last song is worth being the last song, as much as it's not really last song. Looking Up pretty much talks about the idea of, after everything that they went through as a band, she's happy that they stayed as a band in the end, and they're happy that with all the things that went through, that it made them stronger in the end more than damaged them completely. Not everybody, apparently, but it definitely, the ones that remained definitely grew from it, and the ones that didn't, well, one that didn't apparently didn't, but the other one definitely, the one I'm talking about pretty much is Josh. There's a whole thing that happened between him saying that homosexuality is pretty much as parallel to pedophilia, and then coming after the band, saying that there was a lot of control between Haley and his father, and just a lot of shit coming in right after the band, after he departed from the band, and departed. But it was one of those things, just like, there definitely was, as this growth was not really technically about him, I guess, because everybody else definitely has moved forward from it, and it seemed like just from the fact that Paramore had to leave to LA, and to avoid the whole thing with the Josh versus the Paramore thing, shows that there's a lot of other shit that wasn't worked out, or that tried to get worked out, that didn't even didn't go the way that I'm sure they wanted it to. The next one I really like is Misguided Ghosts. I love this one because it kind of revamps the whole direction of Careful, and Careful. I feel like it brings it back, as an idea of saying, like, of her just still finding her way in the world. It's more acoustic, so it's a little more gentle, and it pretty much says, like, it's okay to not know where you're going. It's okay to not know all the answers. Everybody's pretty much trying to figure out their way around the world, so don't feel ashamed that you don't really know, kind of thing. I like the part where, and it seems like it's a mixture between her kind of letting go some pieces, to find other pieces. So one of the ones that she starts off with, the first verse is like, I'm trying to find my place, but it might not be here where I feel safe. So it seems like it's a mixture between her trying to push her comfort zone a bit to kind of find out more about herself by pulling herself outside of the safe space. Because you always can I can definitely see in a direction of also being in band, or even being in a space where she is, and maybe this is talking about LA, but like it's an idea saying that being in a comfort zone is always great. It could be great, but it could also hinder you, because then you're never learning anything new. You're not really learning more about yourself. But she also points out that pain is just simple compromise so we can get what we want. So there's always a flip side to something. There's always a price to everything. You may get this job, but this job has this, or maybe you have to relocate to this direction, or you might find love here, but that equals having to compromise some of your freedoms, or whatever. Like it's so many things that come to the price of that, but it's all in the end worth it to get what you want in the end. All I Want Is You is the last song, and it is my favorite song off the album officially. I had this friend who came to me and he was like, you have to listen to the song, blah, 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 it's really great. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I listened to it, and it was like, I wasn't really fazed by it other than like a little bit of the song. And then we got to the part where the bridge at the end, where it's like complete silence and her singing All I Want Is You and just belting it out. And it just perfect notes, perfect, just power. And it's just beautiful song. It's pretty much talking about her boyfriend, who's the lead of Newfound Glory, Chad Gilbert. He pretty much is going on tour pretty much for the first time with his band. At the same time, they were just beginning their relationship. So already they're going to be apart. And so a lot of insecurities kind of popped up in her mind. So she's like, think of me when you're out there. And kind of touches on other things with what she's doing while he's out. It's just like, I pace my apartment, I fall asleep, wake up to some black and white reruns, and I remember them. I do this so often, I literally remember all the words. And it's all kind of things, just like she's just kind of just pacing herself and kind of keeping herself occupied while they're apart. And I think it's a very beautiful song. So yeah, so that's pretty much it I got for this. If you have any background with them, please let me know. I give this one a 9 out of 10. There was a couple songs that I did like, but I didn't really collect with me. Like Feeling Sorry, I feel like it's a little wonky for me, but everything else is amazing. Leave a comment below, tell me what you thought, and what your whole idea with the Paramore too. If you have more facts you want to throw at me, I would love to learn some more stuff. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell too, so you get more of my videos. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.